I'll move over. Good evening, everybody. So Venerable Chodron is still on her teaching tour in Asia, and so we'll do another review tonight. So first we'll do some prayers and then a little meditation, and then I'll set a motivation, and then we'll begin with the teaching.
I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Mune Soha. 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 Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Mune Soha.
And so to attain full awakening, bodhicitta is indispensable. Bodhicitta is based on great compassion. But to feel great compassion for others, we must first have compassion for ourselves. And renunciation, wanting ourselves to be free from samsara and to attain nirvana, is the true meaning of self-compassion. And so to reach this understanding, we must be clear about our spiritual direction and the guides we rely on to lead us. And so taking refuge is the first step. It is the door to the Buddha's teachings. To take refuge properly, correctly identifying and gaining a clear understanding of the three jewels is critical. To do that, understanding the four truths is important. And this is based on comprehending the two truths, veiled and ultimate truths. And without comprehending the two truths, our understanding of the four truths will be hazy. And without understanding the four truths, our refuge in the three jewels will not be stable. So the four truths comprise two pairs, each pair having a cause and effect relation. True origins cause true dukkha. True paths bring about true cessations. The Buddha is a trustworthy and fully qualified object of refuge. So tonight, let's review the excellent qualities of the Buddha so that we can direct our practice on the path that the Buddha taught to achieve the same result he achieved, and so that we can benefit all beings. So I have a few slides to mostly help me keep track of where I am. So this first slide is, I just really like this image of the Buddha. Venerable Kunchuk had it on his, I think on his computer, and I asked him for it. It's so beautiful. So excellent qualities of the Buddha. So the qualities of the Buddha. So Shakyamuni Buddha did not come into being independent of causes and conditions. That is so important to remember, especially I think for us Westerners, because it's a very vague understanding of where God came from, and it's like some kind of mystical thing. So it's really important to really keep causes and conditions in mind with everything that we study in this path. And he was once an ordinary being just like us. That's also very important. So the path to Buddhahood involves a causal process. And we all have the basic raw material of the Buddha nature. So we too can create the causes to become Buddhas. So tonight I wanted to connect our practice that we do now and how it informs our path to Buddhahood. Because when I think about actually transforming into a Buddha, with the 4 Buddha bodies and all of the qualities, it can seem like a bit of a fairy tale. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but yet here I am day after day practicing this path. So it kind of dawned on me, I haven't really gotten really clear and firm about all the way to Buddhahood, really in my heart, So I could do what I can, and then I die, and then I don't know. But, that's not so helpful. So I think that if we get really clear about the qualities of the Buddha and how the Buddha, or what the Buddha did to develop those, then we start getting a very clear idea of what it's going to take. And then, of course, it takes some conviction in the path. And I don't know about you, but for me, at first I didn't have so much, but I was very struck by what Venerable Children said, and it made perfect sense. And so I kind of rode that wave for a while. But then after some time, I started seeing how I started to change internally. And so then my conviction grew and grew. But I think that especially for us Westerners, we're so habituated to think about what we're lacking, what's going wrong, what isn't, happening the way that I wanted it, that we can really get in our own way and stay stuck in these old identities that are not even pertinent anymore, but we keep living through those. And that brings a very imbalanced practice. So one of the ways that we can start bringing more balance into our practice is by reminding ourselves of all of the qualities of the Buddha, because that is what I want to progress to do. And I have a roadmap. It's not like I have to figure this out all by myself. Somebody already did it and gave explicit instructions. And everything that I have ever had a question about has been answered so far. And there is nothing else in life that I have had that kind of experience with. So I have a deep trust in this process and in this path because of that. And so I think it's really important that we start connecting with that what I am doing now is going to result in becoming a Buddha. Now, the other piece that for most of us, I think, at least for me, it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing wrong. I know what I keep doing again and again and again, and it's a very deep habit. And I've been practicing this for 2 or 3 years, and why is it still here? So that mind is such a mind of not being clear about this vast view. So this mind stream that's in this particular body, this life, has been doing some habits since beginningless time. Yet my quick fix mind wants to apply, the methods, and in 2 or 3 years it should be gone. What? Come on. No, that doesn't even make sense. So it's about accepting where I am, but not getting discouraged about that and continuing to really soak my mind in all of the qualities and all of the causes that are going to bring that about. And if we do that, I think then we'll have a more balanced mind. It won't be so much on the side of not doing well enough, everybody else might be able to, but I can't. All of that baloney that we can get stuck in. So really what we choose to think about and how we work with what comes up is so powerfully important. And it's my responsibility to move my mind from a discouraged place and get it to a realistic place. Because what do we know? Each one of us, no matter what's going on, we all are doing the very, very best we can. Now, how can that be not good enough? That's bonkers. Of course it's good enough. And, everybody around us, our teachers, are so kind. If they saw that I would not be able to do this, out of their compassion, they would say, no, don't do this, go do that instead. Nobody has told any of us that. Well, could we trust that? Could we believe in that? Maybe so. If we open ourselves to start trusting that, though, then there's this other part of the mind, at least for me, that comes up that's like a little fearful. So, well, I'm stepping off the abyss now, what's going to happen? I don't know, And so I'm more comfortable knowing the junk that I stay stuck in than doing something that's going to transform me. So that's not so helpful, So then that's where compassion comes in. I need to keep applying compassion and, support myself to continue to go forward no matter what. And if I get stuck, then I have Dharma friends, I have teachers to help me to get out of that place so that I can keep going, because tick-tock, time is fleeting. And that's all my responsibility. But that's a good thing, because there's always answers, there's always antidotes, and there's always support. I don't know, it couldn't get any better than that, I don't think. The other thing is, when we start learning about the excellent qualities of a Buddha, it isn't so that we can compare ourselves and see how amazing they are compared to where I'm at. No. And then the other one that we can get stuck is to fall in the trap of bringing our Christian upbringing into the mix and relating to the Buddha kind of like a god without even kind of knowing that we're doing that, That is not helpful either. So we have to keep dismantling the imprints of the Christian view about, one creator something, managing all of this. And when you start looking at the qualities, it's easy to kind of fall into that because they're unworldly, they're astounding, they're huge, they're, how can that happen, So, so we just have to trust that this is accurate. And one of the ways that I remind myself is that I look at our teachers, especially some of the masters that have come here, and they have qualities that are unworldly. They do, like Geshe Sopa. He came and taught, and somebody would ask him a question and he'd say, oh, let's see, let me think. Well, that's in this text, and it's on page 32, and it's the second column, and it says, blah, 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 blah. You know, I mean, it's like a card catalog right in there in his mind, and right at his fingertips. So, you know, that's what humans can do. That's what humans can do. So once we have an idea of what the goal is, we need to see if we have the factors that will enable us to achieve Buddhahood. And so this content that I'm going to talk about now comes from Alex Berzin's site on his talk about Buddha nature. He says that there are 3 types of traits that are naturally with us, abiding all the time in all of us. So the first is the naturally abiding trait we all have. These are things which don't really change. They are just facts about the mental continuum, like its emptiness. So this moment-to-moment mental activity is all that is occurring. There's no separate me from this which is either observing it or controlling it or making it happen. This mental activity does not exist inherently. It is going on moment to moment to moment. That's the naturally abiding trait. It's affected by various things. It changes. Its emptiness is what is responsible for the emptiness of a mind of a Buddha, the essential nature body. So our mind now doesn't exist as some sort of solid thing with a solid line around it sitting inside of us. And this is also true, of course, with a Buddha's mind. So this is a trait, a feature of our mental continuum that abides forever. It didn't have a beginning, and it's going to continue into Buddhahood as well. So not much difference there. And then the second is the evolving traits. These are things that can develop and grow. Some of them have also been present in the mental continuum with no beginning, and some can be attained for the first time at some point. And then the third type of trait is the fact that our mental continuum allows Buddha's enlightening influence to enter our mental continuum so that it can be inspired, uplifted, to achieve the various spiritual goals. This enlightening influence is like the shining of the sun. The sun doesn't have to do anything, it just automatically shines. Or it's like the force of a magnet to draw things toward it. The magnet doesn't have to do anything, it just is the way it is, part of its nature. And so if we are open and receptive, we can be inspired, uplifted. Often it is talked about as receiving the blessings of the Buddha. But I think it's a better way to think of it as this inspiration from the Buddha. And this enlightening influence of the Buddha can come through the medium of our fully qualified teachers. But from our side, we need to learn, study, contemplate, meditate over and over again so that it becomes an automatic quality of ours. So that's our part of it. Through our spiritual listening, thinking, and meditating, together with the influence of a teacher and the Buddha, this then gives rise to the other Buddha bodies, the ones with form, and the deep awareness Dharmakaya, the mind of a Buddha. So we'll start with the 18 unique qualities of a Buddha. So these distinctive qualities are not shared by arhats. That's why they're unique, or sometimes they're called unshared. And both the Sanskrit and Pali traditions describe 18 unshared qualities. And these 18 distinctive features are consciousnesses. Next. And then the source, so the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras were taught by Shakyamuni Buddha during the second turning of the wheel of Dharma. The sutras explicitly and extensively present the topic of emptiness, of true existence of all phenomena. In addition, they also set forth in a hidden manner the different clear realizations developed by a spiritual aspirant on the path to Buddhahood. So in the Ornament for Clear Realization, composed by Maitreya, he wrote that to clarify these realizations. So the ornament presents the different clear realizations developed by a Buddha as well as those possessed by a fully enlightened, Bodhisattva, as well as those possessed by a fully enlightened Buddha. And they describe cause, entity, and result. And these 18 unique qualities are the results of the practice. And then the final result of the Buddha's path, the final result of this vigilance in the resultant truth body, is the resultant truth body, the final object of attainment. So by learning about the Buddha's excellent qualities, one is moved to generate a strong aspiration to achieve it for the sake of benefiting others. So what we're doing here is starting to build up the reasonings for why this is a reasonable path to take, and how we need to work with our mind and practice so that we can accomplish it. And of course, the other thing that happens is that we have such a narrow view, and that gets us in trouble all the time. We have to have a very vast view and a very vast mind to hold all of this. So our practice right now is to build up this vast mind in the context of keeping this very vast view. And that's where some of the conviction or trust comes in. But if it's gone pretty well already in terms of how I've changed, how you've changed, we see how each other changes here, then what would make it not continue if we follow what the Buddha prescribes? So let's go to the 18 qualities. So Maitreya divided them into 4 groups. And so divided them into behaviors, to realizations, to awakening activities, and to pristine wisdoms. So we'll start with the 6 unshared behaviors. So what I wanted to do with this section was for us to think about when we read through these, what we're doing now that is creating the cause for us to get to these behaviors and have them really embedded in our actions. Okay? So the first one, no mistaken physical actions. So due to his mindfulness and conscientiousness, the Buddha has no mistaken physical actions, whether he is walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. His feet do not touch the ground when he walks, and any insect that touches them will be reborn in a pure land. So what do we do now in terms of our practice daily that would contribute to getting to this kind of no mistaken physical actions?
Starting with the 3 motivations every morning, and then also trying to abandon the 10 non-virtues and keeping our precepts very clearly.
Okay. Yep. What other physical actions?
Purification.
Pardon?
Purification.
I'm sorry.
Purification.
Purification. Okay. I was thinking about, how about comportment? What are we trained to do? Walk quietly, not rush, not run. So if you do that over time, you get to the place where you have no mistaken physical actions. You're in total control of what your body is doing. Yeah. I have a good story about that. Before we had all these buildings and we were all living in Ananda, we had 4 nuns from Seattle, Chinese nuns come, and I think we were going to do either an ordination or they were translating the Vinaya, I'm not sure which it was. But anyhow, they were staying downstairs in Ananda in one of those rooms. And I was down there kind of in the main area in the morning, and all of a sudden, these 4 were right next to me. And I heard nothing. And it's like, how did you get here? It's like they were above the ground, you know? So that is their training. That's from their training. So they didn't have any mistaken physical actions that I have ever seen, actually. So right now, we know people that have that. Yeah, and we can have that too. So those of you that have very heavy feet, think about this. Think about this. How about the blessing of the feet also? So now we're creating the cause for the kind of relationship we have with insects when we are walking around, and that we don't kill them after we get some practice with this. Yeah.
What about introspective awareness, like, just kind of
Yeah.
paying attention to what I'm doing at that moment?
Yeah, that's it exactly. Yep. And that one, yeah, that's, I mean, how often in the day are we ahead to what we're going to do soon, and we're not even connected to what we're doing now? Not so helpful. Not so helpful. Okay, second one, he acts in accordance with free from mistaken speech. He acts in accordance with what he says, and his speech fulfills the needs of each sentient being in that moment. Always speaking appropriately, truthfully, and kindly, he is free from mistaken speech and chatter. The Buddha does not dispute with the world, nor does he complain or criticize with what others have done. So how about this? What are we practicing now that has to do with speech? Yeah, Venerable Rinchen.
When we do our daily blessing of the speech, we can set the intention for our speech to be useful, truthful, timely, and kind, and try to keep that in mind as we go through our day and actually do that.
Yep, good. What else?
Keeping silence during, well, our daily schedule, we keep it for a significant portion of the day, eating half silence during our meals, but in extended periods of retreat, just to cut down on the chatter and needless talk.
Yep. What else? Yeah, Venerable Punsuk.
Practicing nonviolent communication here.
Yes, that's a big one. Yeah. What else? So our, go ahead.
Limiting exposure to media that is unskillful.
Yep.
And right now we're in Varsa, so we're trying not to give negative feedback
To others, yeah. Yep.
Also reciting mantras.
Yes, Yeah, reciting mantras, yeah. So now that we're in Varsa, you know, we have this for 3 months to not give people feedback that's critical. And so that's a mindfulness practice, especially when we're activated, you know, by something. So, and then at the end of the time, then we all get together, and if we did criticize somebody, we confess it in front of everybody, and then we ask if people have other things that they have seen us do and give us the feedback. So that's a very powerful experience to go through. And over the years, you really get clear about these 3 months, what you're going to not let your mind do, you know? And it's very helpful. And even if you know, you don't have to be perfect, you know, if your afflictions take over, fine, but then you own them at the end. And then people don't have to bring them up to you because you brought them up. So it's a very loving and helpful way to increase your skill in how you speak. Free from any lack of mindfulness. He is free from any lack of mindfulness regarding the dhyanas and wisdom. Without forgetting sentient beings, he teaches them appropriately. So there's a bazillion of these, just thinking about mindfulness, first of all. So what do we do about training in mindfulness? So we don't stand up when we drink liquids. That's one. We try to line our shoes up. We try to arrive on time for meditation. We learn about concentration and meditation. And then, of course, we start learning about emptiness and then trying to integrate it into our practice, daily practice. And then he says, not forgetting sentient beings, teaching them appropriately. So how do we kind of grow in that way? What do we do? Yeah, Venerable Kunsuk.
We practice mindfulness of all the dietary restrictions in the kitchen.
Yes.
The growing restrictions.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. How about, go ahead, yeah, Tenzin.
Not chasing the food that I want to eat.
Yeah, so being mindful of kind of our desires, yeah. I was thinking about one of the ways that we start with this is how we start giving Dharma talks to various groups, and how we start thinking about what I'm going to say that's going to match where they are in their knowledge. So what we talk about when we go to create in Newport is much different than when we go to Spokane and talk at the Soul Center, for example. Very different. And so we try to start matching what is going to be most beneficial for the people. Okay. Next one, continuously abides in meditative equipoise on emptiness and simultaneously teaches the Dharma to sentient beings. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you know, again, this is a long process, of course. Yeah. But we have really good teachers that help us with this all the time. And then, you know, every time we imagine the Buddha and dissolving into light and dissolving into us, we're starting to get a taste of what it's like to have a body and mind that's completely purified. It's a body made of light. So we're starting to already step into that a bit. That's beneficial. that makes this not seem so solid and, inherent. So many different things start to impact our view of ourselves when we start learning about emptiness and kind of bringing it in, to our daily life. Sometimes just the idea of like looking at this room, instead of looking at every individual thing, I make my eyes kind of soft, and I look to see how everything is dependent on everything else in here. So that's a different way of observing, for example. So there's many ways that we can do this. Next one, does not perceive any discordant appearances. He does not perceive any discordant appearances of inherent existence and recognizes all phenomena as sharing the one aspect of emptiness. The Buddha is not biased towards sentient beings. He neither benefits those who praise him and behaves well in his presence, nor does he harm those who do not. So I think the best teacher about that, at least has been for me, is Venerable Thubten. If I'm looking for some praise, that's when I'm never going to get it from her, yeah? So, if I step into the 8 worldly concerns, she will not play, yeah? And again, starting to practice seeing reality, whether on or off the cushion, in whatever way we can. So on the cushion, it's different, certainly, than we have sadhanas that help us with understanding and meditating on emptiness. And then when we're off the cushion, then, we work with how we get stuck on something and we can't get off of it, and we make ourselves drop it. We practice that so we don't get stuck in something that's inherently there to my mind and I'm, wigged out about it, and, so like that. And then the 6th one, he abides in perfect equanimity, free from indifference, knowing the individual characteristics of each phenomenon, as well as when sentient beings' minds are ready to be ripened. So on this one, I think that we, learn a lot about equanimity, what it is not. And so that helps us. And I think in terms of indifference, so, I think NVC has helped us with that. How can I stay connected even if there's not a lot I could say to that person right now or whatever, but how can I be connected nonetheless? So that avoids indifference, like you're a piece of furniture, you're nothing. And then when we listen carefully to sentient beings and practice meeting them where they are in their understanding of the Dharma, that also has an equanimous piece to it. Because if we don't start out that way, when people come, we can get into the 8 worldly concerns, and I'm going to tell you about how smart I am and how much I know. It's easy to drop into that, and then it's not helpful. And of course, we've lost connection then, and it's like, sometimes, it's a mixed motivation sometimes. I really want you to know this. It's really important and it really helped me. But then the other piece of, and, I know it. So, it has both of those flavors to it. So we have to kind of work with what our motivation is always, continually, again. Yep.
Even just offering service with each other and interacting with each other here at the Abbey. There are times where I think all of us are training to know when is a good time to say something and when it's better just not to say something.
Yeah, yeah,
When it won't land.
yeah, yeah.
So that
Yeah.
seems to,
Yeah, would go there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah. And of course, I don't know about you, the way I learned it was saying it when it wasn't the right time and getting that result. Do that a few times and then, no, I'm not going to say it now. And of course, everybody's different. So I can say it to one person and not the other, or, whatever. Yeah. Okay, then the realizations, the 6 unshared realizations. Never experiences any decline in his aspiration and intention to benefit all sentient beings. With all-encompassing love and compassion, a Buddha never experiences any decline of his aspiration and intention to benefit all sentient beings or to increase their virtuous qualities. So that's a big one. But what do we do every day as best we can? What are some things that you try to work on? Yeah, Shane, or Selden, sorry. What is your name?
It's not inherent.
No.
Just do no harm. Think of that.
Yeah.
The 3 aspirations when we
Yeah.
wake up.
Yeah, do no harm.
At least that, if nothing else. you
Yeah,
know.
yep. Yeah, that's good. Yep. Yep. Huh? Wrong.
We remind ourselves of the motivation of bodhicitta continuously before
Yes.
offering service, before
Yes.
cooking lunch, before meditation, before
Yes.
teachings, and
Yeah.
so on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And while we're doing that, the difficulty with that is it becomes rote, and we say it, and we're on to the next thing we're just about going to do, yes? So it is about how do we connect ourselves with bodhicitta? And where does that live? How do we bring that forward? And that's different for every person, and that's hard, and it takes effort. It takes effort. Okay, where are we now? Joyous effort. Oh, let me just say one thing about the decline of aspiration. So before we get some stability in our practice, which takes a long time, many years, I certainly don't have it. I'm working more on kind of going through the maze of afflictions and knocking them down. It's like whack-a-mole, and trying to get them so that they're not bothering so much. So that's kind of the work for a long time. But it's good because there's all these antidotes that we can apply, and you'll always find something that will work with your mind. So there's no reason to get discouraged, but sometimes that's where we start. His joyous effort to lead others to awakening never diminishes. That's what I want. Let's go from joy to joy. Gosh, doesn't that sound so wonderful? So a Buddha experiences no physical, verbal, or mental fatigue and continuously cares for the welfare of sentient beings without laziness or despondency. Yeah. So, this one, it's kind of like, I think of it in terms of attitude. I wake up with a certain attitude in my mind, and if it's a poopy one, I want to change that to something that's more joyful. And you can do that, by figuring out what you put in your mind that's going to do that. I've said this one a million times. I close my eyes and think of, 23 baby puppies. They're jumping all around me, and, they're loving me, and and I can't not smile, and I love them, and it's so good. And then that changes my attitude. So, you find something that's going to turn your heart, open your heart, turn your attitude. And it's not fake, and it's not lame. It's not. It works. It's good, you know? So these are the things that we can use. Huh? Yeah.
I think Venerable's encouragement for us to come to the whole no matter how we're feeling also ties into this. It's like, if you're going to have a headache, you can have a headache in your bed, you can have a headache in the whole. Which one's more beneficial?
Yeah.
Come and work with that.
Yeah.
And also how we don't have weekends.
Yeah.
Was there's no break from samsara. So it's like, you know, we have flex days, but this idea of our days of virtue and the schedule that we have is leading us to have joyous effort.
Yeah.
So that's how we live day to day. There's not this
Yep.
time off.
Yeah. 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 Venerable Kunga.
That brings to mind the burning all night long, and surprise swarms like on flex days.
Yeah.
I remember one in particular was pulling knapweed, and
Yep.
I was looking forward to that flex day for 2 weeks, and then
Yep.
what do you know?
Nope. Yep. Nope.
She wants everyone to go out and pull weeds.
Yeah. 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 But it's interesting when she does that. That's the most helpful thing for the majority of people here. It's so interesting, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Selden.
Along the lines of, like Venerable Lomsol just stated about like perseverance and fortitude, like, you know, I wake up and I'm not feeling good or mentally or physically, whatever, but then if I force myself to go to the hall, sometimes in those situations, I have the best sessions.
Yeah.
It's curious.
Yeah.
And just turn my mind.
Yeah. That's the Buddha's enlightening influence, I think. Okay. His mindfulness is effortless and uninterrupted. He is mindful of the situation each sentient being encounters in the past, present, and future, and the methods to subdue their minds. So what comes to mind when I read this is, what a vast mind. So what can I do to increase the capacity of my mind? So what do we do here to increase the capacity of our minds? What are the things? Yeah. Something.
Try and keep up with Venerable Thubten children.
Yeah. And we don't get discouraged when we fail. Yeah. Yep. What else? How about the day? Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Nicole.
Keeping good ethical conduct and purifying transgressions.
Yep. Good. How about the one of, it's a day where I either lead or do water bowls. I have to make breakfast. I get to make breakfast. And I have 2 meetings back to back and a BBC and cook lunch. Yeah. And what your mind does when all that comes, you know, you can make yourself so miserable or not, you know? Yeah, or not. And so that increases our capacity. To hold many things. Yeah. And the reason we can hold them is because we're not bummed out about it. We're not letting our mind criticize it. It's like, it's good, I'm helping. So like that. Next, he remains in samadhi with pure and stainless wisdom focused on the ultimate reality of emptiness. Okay. So free from all obscuration, he continuously remains in samadhi with pure and stainless wisdom focused on the ultimate reality of emptiness. So free from all obscurations. So for us, for me, I don't know about you, it is about, again, playing whack-a-mole with all of the afflictions as they come up and getting better at recognizing when they just first want to start coming and knock it down before it gets going. Because if you let it get going, then you're in a mess and it's really hard to get out of it. So many different ways we can get more subtle, more subtle, more subtle with these afflictions so that they don't bother us like they used to when we were, full in them. His wisdom knows his state of awakening cannot degenerate. His wisdom knows that his state of awakening, which is free from both afflictive and cognitive obscurations, cannot degenerate. He lacks any dualistic appearance or grasping at duality and knows the clear light nature of the mind. So the only thing I could think of with this one was, how about the practice that you have done over the years that haven't degenerated? So like meditating twice a day. I have been on planes. I have been in the middle of the airport. I have been here. I've been there. I've been sick. I've been in the hospital. And I always do them. I can't not. So they're embedded in my body because I've done them so long and so much. So like that. So that's getting us on that path for creating those causes. Yeah.
Venerable, I think with this one also, we may not have a state of awakening that cannot degenerate, but we can always lean back on things that we have developed to a certain point, like our refuge.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Any sense of bodhicitta that we have established.
Yeah. So thinking about it from the aspect of the value of something instead of it's not to the place where I want it to be. Yeah. So the mind that takes what it is and accepts where it is, and that's wonderful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Pema.
In the ones that have the wisdom of emptiness, then we are also taught to hold everything within the purity of the three spheres.
Yeah.
And also like how Geshe-la used to tell Venerable Chuni that when he's wiping the table, he's thinking about dependent arising and emptiness.
Yeah.
And you can do that if your mind is habituated to that, or even at a very not elementary, but of impermanence.
Yes.
If you're not at emptiness, and you
Yep.
are at least thinking that this is impermanent.
Yep. Yeah, and there's many ways that we can do that here. When you're walking from Gotami to over here in the spring or summer, and you see the insects on the path that have died, or all of the ones that are, busting out and, coming out, or in the hall, the flies, especially the ones that are kind of connected to you, it's so interesting. They don't touch anyone else and they're all over me. What is that, Well, it was my mother in a past life or my child or something. And so then you watch them and then, they're really active and they fly into my forehead and, da-da-da, and then there they are on my robe. And then, a couple days later, they're just walking. And then after a few days, they're on their back with their legs moving. And then the next day, they're dead. So, it's very helpful to pay attention to these things. that's what's going to happen to me. So it's good to see that and to acclimate to that. That's what will happen. Yeah. And they know how to do it quite well. They don't struggle with it. Yeah. And I don't want to either. With total freedom, his inexhaustible wisdom perfectly knows all existence, 84,000 Dharma teachings, doctrines of the three vehicles, how and when to express them to sentient beings. So what popped into my mind with this one again was Geshe Sopa. I think I read somewhere that he memorized 5,000 or 3,000 texts, like a lot. And out of all of that information, he decided what to bring forward that would help most of the beings in front of him, you know? So like that. And so if we stay connected using MVC and we get our ego out of the way and we think about how can I benefit this person the most, and I listen to them very deeply, then I'm going to know how to help them. And I'm going to ask them if that's helpful or not, and then they're going to tell me. And then we go from there. So like that. Kunga.
I think knowing which volume in the Library of Wisdom and Compassion to recommend people to consult is a step in this direction. And I aspire to be able to do that.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that before I read them all because I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so now the 3 unshared awakening activities. So Buddha's bodily actions are always done to benefit others. He emanates diverse bodies. Physical actions automatically have a positive effect on sentient beings and subdue their minds. So for this one, I think when I think about teachers mostly, when there's a big kerfuffle going on here and Venerable walks into the room and it seems like it's going to be okay now. You know, that's just from her energy, from her, how she holds things, I think. So, you know, it helps to subdue my mind. His Holiness has that same quality, of course. What other things can you think about?
I was thinking about how we emphasize giving a good visual. You know, if we're training ourselves to think people are watching me, and also developing integrity and consideration of others, those are going to be helpful. I was also thinking with all of these can also be held as aspirations. Of course, we're not there now, but you know, and that's the beauty of reviewing them is to think about. If they become one comes into the mind, you can just aspire. One day, I hope I will have that quality, or want to have that quality.
Yeah, and for me to be able to connect to it now with my current state is what's going to connect me to those, so that I have a strong aspiration to fully, you know, get there. I think that's very helpful. Yeah.
I think just working as a community where we are doing daily activities that are for the benefit of others, that we keep that in mind. You know, we like, well, for that example of making sure that we're cooking something that everybody can eat. All those kinds of ways that we are thinking of the larger community or training ourselves to think of the larger community helps tremendously with this, I think.
And that's a vaster mind, isn't it? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, for this, when you know, some days it's just bad, and you just the best that you can do I can do is may this be beneficial. Like whatever it is, just have that aspiration.
Yeah.
Even though the action, the mind is not in the right place, the body it's kind of gone. But then to keep that aspiration of, may this be beneficial.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It's in some way. Yep. Yep. And I think you can come to that because you know that it's not permanent. So, it gets you beyond it, kind of. Yeah. Yeah. Venerable, or I keep calling you Venerable, and you're not in Maroon yet, so I don't know. There you have it.
I'm thinking of that day Venerable gave us to change the fish from a small fish to big fish. And that moment, I saw a lot of the things that are going on internally in my mind too. That is actually subduing something that is not virtuous inside my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Venerable Pelge.
I think another one is just a smile. Like you just smile and then
Smile.
yeah, whether the mind goes crazy, you just smile and then
Yeah.
And then second one is around Venerable SK when you have that kind of go. She's like gentle. You want to go, also cannot go.
Yeah. She's got a very calming force. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Teaches the Dharma in a manner appropriate to each person. His speech flows smoothly, is accurate, lovely to hear, and does not deceive or lead others astray, is clear, wise, and kind. How about that one? Yep. So then.
I think goes back to, for me, like introspective awareness, to know, like if I am irritated, try not to let it come out in my voice. Watch the harsh speech. And
Yep.
I think we practice this by giving BBCs, learning to speak clearly, accurately, not too loud, all that.
Yep. Cogent thoughts that, have a through line to them. Yeah, all of that. Venerable Kunga.
And to make the BBC appropriate for the audience. So that can be difficult if, it's last minute guests that you suddenly have to rephrase things on the spot.
Yep. And so then that also brings that vast mind again. I'm going to hold whatever comes at me. I'm going to, do my best. And sometimes it fails miserably and other times it's good. And that's okay, because it's messy. That's just how it is here, And samsara. Yeah, Pema.
For me, that one is about learning the Dharma really very clearly, and then reflecting and meditating and not saying things just because it sounds nice. But that this is what the Buddha said. And to be very clear about it.
Yep. And if you don't know, say you don't know instead of guess. Yep.
Yes,
all of that.
And to I don't know. I don't want to create that kind of karma where I make up what the Buddha teaches. Kind of.
Yeah. Very important. Yeah. Filled with undeclining love and compassion, his mind encompasses all beings with the intention to do only what is of the highest benefit. He effortlessly and continuously cognizes all phenomena. what I think about with this one is like when we're going to put on something like when Ling Rinpoche came, or if we have a big sharing the Dharma day with a lot of people, and how we all hold the space and do what needs to be done in this really beautiful way. And our purpose is to let people have a good experience here, you know? That's what drives that. And we've done it long enough that we're pretty good at it in many ways. And everybody does something different, and there's no judgment about it. And, you know, we're all doing what we can and holding it, and you can feel the energy of it just going forward, you know. And so that's a way to kind of tap into that, I think. Yep.
The visualizations that we do in many of the sadhanas seem to encompass this, with the light going out to touch sentient beings and transform them, holding them with love and compassion, seeing that it's empty and being of highest benefit.
Yep, yep. And that especially works so well when we get discouraged or we're feeling personal distress because of difficulties in the world. Yes, perfect, yeah. Yep. Did you have something, Venerable Thubten? Mm-hmm.
This makes me think of the two practices that His Holiness emphasizes every time he talks to us. That every day we should be thinking about bodhicitta, and not just thinking about it, but doing the process of generating bodhicitta, and thinking about emptiness and dependent arising. Because these are really the fruits of that, you know.
Yep, 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 yep. And then the next one is the 3 unshared pristine wisdoms. So without obscuration or error, the Buddha's wisdom simultaneously knows everything in the past, future, and present. So that's a big one. But, you know, I think we can hold what's going on in the present. I mean, when it gets really busy here, we're holding many things, many moving parts, and doing it without, you know, melting down or hitting the wall is a very positive, helpful thing to help train us. And so the other stuff will come as it comes, you know. Yep.
I think also about like remembering instructions that have been given, things that have been shared in past meetings, and kind of keeping that, holding that in mind as we're going through to the present, and really, you know, just thinking about how what we're doing right now is going to have an impact on the future too, to hold them in that way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a beautiful thing. And, you know, we're in the process now in this community of older ones now stepping back and younger ones coming forward. And so it's a interesting time and an interesting dance right now in, you know, many ways. But it's the natural evolution of how things should be going. So, yeah, I think we've done quite well, really. Venerable Losang. And then Venerable Pema.
I think being mindful of karma in many ways leads to this. Being aware that if I'm experiencing something now, I must have created the causes in the past.
Yes.
And what I'm doing now is creating causes that will go into the future.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the Buddha knows all these things. That's
yes. Yep.
All the intricacies we can not know right now.
Yeah. And especially during retreat time, you know, our mind can get really in a twit. And, you know, these things ripen because we're creating so much virtue. And so Instead of going down the rabbit hole with, I'm losing my mind, instead it is, yes, this is ripening and good, now it's done. Get back to meditation, just that simple. Yeah.
Actually, with this one, I see a similitude in terms of like great leaders, where they learn from past mistakes.
Yeah.
They look at the big environment, and then they're leading a country.
Yeah.
They're leading their people, and they need to make decisions based on what happened before and what is the current situation. So they need to have a lot of information.
Yeah.
They want, based on that, make prediction and then make decisions as the best as they could. And it's really, I think, like this incredible mind of understanding dependent arising.
Yes.
Where they can see all these causes and potentially if this happens, so then they make the best decision for their people.
Yes.
And the ability to do that, I think if you get to where with the Buddha's motivation, then you have that kind of huge mind.
Yep. Yeah. That happens here some. Venerable children, the things that she keeps in her mind, it's astounding to me. Yes. I know. The thing that I forgot so long ago, and she's on it now. It's like, oh, yeah. Selden?
Kind of think about projects I have and or whatever my duty is, and not to conceptualize it in the future like, oh, it's going to go this way. To have a more flexible mind and be in the moment and not conceptualize how things are going to go.
Yep.
And then, because things never go.
Yeah.
Like I think they are.
Yeah, we can't control.
And then it's the more I do that, the more I have a flexible mind. That's problems arise. It's like, all right, I'll just have to think of another way to do
another way to do it. Yeah, and less misery then.
Yeah.
We create
so much less misery.
We create our own misery.
And then I don't. Then I'm not afflicted, and I don't lash out at others because I'm.
Yep. Yeah. All
holding
of that.
stuff too tight myself. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's that thing about remembering it's samsara. I can't control anything. So it's all right. Yeah, I still can function and do what I can, but yeah. Okay, the last slide is qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. So again, just to remember that Shakyamuni Buddha did not come into being independent of causes and conditions. His body was formed by a vast array of perfect virtues. He was once an ordinary being like us, but through enthusiastically and diligently creating the myriad causes for awakening, he attained full awakening. So because the path to Buddhahood involves a causal process, and because we have the basic raw material of the Buddha nature, we too can create the causes to become Buddhas. And so then the qualities that you will end up with are Buddhas are able to manifest an infinite number of emanations simultaneously, appearing in whatever form is most suitable to communicate with specific sentient beings. They appear throughout the universe wherever sentient beings have created the karma to be receptive to their awakening influence. Although these emanations appear to be ordinary people, their bodies are not made of atoms. The Buddha's emanation body is pleasing to look at, but does not generate attachment in the viewer. In the case of a supreme emanation body, such as Shakyamuni Buddha, it has the 32 signs and 80 marks of a great person, which include the crown protrusion, the impression of 1,000-spoke Dharma wheel on the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. Each of these signs is the result of having practiced specific virtuous deeds. In the Sanskrit tradition, the signs and marks and their causes are detailed in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, Nagarjuna's Precious Garland, and Maitreya's Ornament of Clear Realization. So the Buddha is able to communicate perfectly, whether with words or with other means, to everybody in a way that will be able to be understood. The Buddha knows and understands everything. His love and compassion equally, he has love and compassion equally for everybody, knows the methods that will enable everybody to achieve these spiritual goals. The principal way in which Buddhas benefit sentient beings is by teaching the Dharma, giving us the tools to create the causes for our own well-being and awakening. In that way, their speech fulfills the hopes of limitless beings, both our temporal and ultimate aspirations and welfare. Being aware of this, then, we should take every opportunity possible to listen, to reflect, to meditate on the awakened one's teachings. When a Buddha speaks, each person understands exactly what is most helpful for him or her to hear at that time. For one person, the teaching is about impermanence. For another, it concerns emptiness. And for a third, it teaches compassion. Have you had that experience with other people? I've had that many times. You go hear a teaching and you're all really, jazzed about this. And they say, oh, yeah, that's interesting. But, really, this is what was so interesting, And it's like, I didn't even really hear that so much, So that's the skill of a teacher that's so, so far along the path. So never harsh or cruel, Buddha's words are always inspiring. They reinforce and enhance our ability to integrate the Dharma and eliminate our doubts. Like a lion's roar, a Buddha's speech conquers extremist views. Like the bellow of an elephant, it makes the Dharma known without hesitation. Like Brahma's melodious voice, sentient beings can listen to it without becoming weary. When someone's mind is ready, no matter where she is or what circumstances she is in, a Buddha's speech will ripen her mind, stimulating her to gain understanding and realizations. The Buddha's mind directly, simultaneously knows all existence, ultimate truths and conventional truths without discord. No sentient being has this ability. The Buddha's omniscient mind has two aspects. From the perspective of its seeing emptiness, it is called the pristine wisdom, knowing things as they are. From the perspective of it perceiving the entire diversity and variety of phenomena, it is called the wisdom knowing the varieties. That all sounds pretty good. Let's do that. Are there any final thoughts or questions or anything? Yes, Venerable Pommel.
I'm a bit confused about the 18 qualities that are all said to be consciousnesses, but in the unshared behaviors and the unshared activities, there's also activities of body and speech. So I'm not sure how this relates to the consciousness part.
Well, without consciousness, you wouldn't be doing any of those activities. So it all starts from the mind. I think just that.
Like, so the mind is the forerunner of all.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know, do you have something else, Venerable Chinny?
It's just a thought. Any time the Buddha is acting,
it's an emanation body. It's all springing totally from the conscious, from the Dharmakaya at this point. So for a human being, yes, it's a physical action, but the activity that is emanating from the Dharmakaya is a consciousness, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is my guess. I'm not saying this with any authority, but
Yeah. In the result way, yes. Yeah, the final result way, yes. Yep. Tenzin.
Venerable, I'm thinking of the Lam Rim, how that it was being set up, right? It kind of like trained us to actually achieve the 18 qualities of the Buddha.
Yeah. Because the Lam Rim is, the instruction, the teaching of how to train a bodhisattva mind. So of course, Yep. Okay. So we'll stop. You have something else, Venerable Chuni? No? Okay. Can we do the prayers? Now.
Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig, may you stay until samsara ends. May the spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it, have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable, and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of Lobsang's teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the 3 worlds always increase. Peerless Supreme Spiritual Leader, Omniscient King of the Shakyas, Motherly Tara, Supreme Bestower of longevity and wisdom, vast ocean assembly of sources of refuge, grant propitiousness here and now for a nectar of benefit and bliss to flow. With a clear mind and extensive learning gained from following the wondrous traditions of Thubten, the able one's teachings, you bring clarity to masses of disciples with the light of children, the lamp of the Dharma. May your lotus feet remain unfaltering for a very long time. Through your dharmic deeds of hearing, thinking, meditating, and so on, place those who seek the liberated path in harmony through immaculate discipline. Please lead all beings to liberation with undeclining excellent qualities of scripture and insight, and establish them in a glory of eternal bliss. May the deeds of explaining and practicing the Dharma, done by groups supporting the teachings and their upholders, who spread the view of dependent arising and non-violent actions in the 10 directions, and especially at Sravasti Abbey in the west, for